Welcome to the Screw the System channel. I'm Joe Barnes, author, speaker and coach, and in today's video I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life story. Before I begin, the relevance of my story relates to this channel. This channel is for all entrepreneurs and dreamers, or anyone who's fed up with conventional ways of working and living. So I thought it might be useful if I tell you a little bit about my journey. I'm going to start in the year 2000. Today I'm going to cover from the years 2000 to 2005. The reason I'm starting in the year 2000 is because this was the first year when I started to have doubts about the conventional path, about the path that my parents, my teachers, etc. had told me that I should be living. I was at Manchester University at the time studying a politics degree, and I was getting increasingly disillusioned with academic study, with my degree, and all the possibilities that lay out there in the world for me once I'd completed my studies. I wasn't interested in my degree, I was fed up with studying, and I was beginning to realize that a pattern was emerging. I was always going to be chasing. I'd been through school and told that I had to get good results in order to get to university. Now I was at university, I was being told I'd have to get a good degree so that I could get a good job. And I could see at that age it was never going to end. I'd constantly be chasing promotion after promotion, new job, retirement. And then when I finally did retire, I probably wasn't going to have the energy to enjoy the time or make the most of my life. So I was really questioning this path that lay out before me at the time. Added to that, I was very isolated at university. I didn't drink at the time, and in the UK it was very much a dominant drinking culture of the social scene at university, and I didn't really want any part of that, and I made a big mistake actually at the time. I shut myself off from other people. People generally wouldn't talk a whole lot while at lectures or in tutorials. All the socializing occurred with a pint of beer in your hands. That wasn't really for me, so I ended up cutting myself off from others. 2001 rolled around. It was pretty much more of the same. I was still at university, not having a great time, but I had a bout of insomnia that got really bad. It was during the summer, and I would wake up pretty much every night at sort of 3 a.m. and not be able to get back to sleep. So I go to bed around 11, get about 4 hours sleep, and then keep waking up, not being able to get back to sleep. After about 2 weeks of this, I was really desperate, and the whole pattern and cycle continued for a few months. And I discovered that more and more I was beginning to live in my own head rather than out in the world. And it wasn't just insomnia I experienced while I was at university. I had a whole string of psychosomatic conditions. I also had this chronic shoulder pain, had a bloodshot left eye, and I had irritable bowel syndrome. And I realized what was happening is more and more, as I said, I was living in my head. I wasn't living out in the world. I was getting consumed by all of these problems because I had no real focus and nothing going on in my life. Didn't have any friends, didn't have a girlfriend, wasn't enjoying the course, and as a result I sort of turned in on myself and mentally just existed within my own mind. So as I moved into 2002, life wasn't looking too good. I was in my final year at university, and pretty soon I was going to have to make some pretty big decisions about what I was going to do after university and the direction my life would take. Now, to help treat my insomnia, I'd seen a hypnotherapist, and as a result of that, and as a result of it going quite well, I'd suddenly become interested in that. I'd also begun playing tennis again, which is something I'd stopped doing for 5 years. So I thought I could become a tennis coach and hypnotherapist. However, when I told my careers advisors at the university about this, and when I told my parents, they rubbished the idea. They told me I was never going to make enough money, and in my vulnerable state, I believed them. I believed what they said, and I felt even more desperate, thinking that there was never going to be a way out for me or a way I could enjoy my life. However, in that moment of desperation, I said a prayer, and that sounds a bit ridiculous because I'm not Christian at all. But I'd said a prayer, asked for help, and strangely or coincidentally, or maybe it's an answer to my prayer, very next day I came across this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and that completely changed my thinking. It was the first time in my life I'd ever encountered a source, be it a person, a book or whatever, which was saying to me, you can have everything you want from your life. And it laid out the way you can program your subconscious mind in order to do this. So this filled me with a huge sense of hope. About that time, I also had this, what I would call vision. Now, when I say vision, I don't mean something biblical. I didn't see a light shining or hear angels singing or bells ringing. It wasn't anything like that. It was more just a sort of an intuition about me speaking on a stage to an audience, them being inspired by the words I was saying. Now, at the time, I didn't really know how to fulfill this vision, and this is before the internet. Well, it's before the prominence of the internet, before blogs, before YouTube, etc. So I thought the best thing to do was to write a book, to make myself a prominent personal development figure. I needed to write a book. So that was my plan. However, just after I left university and got my degree, I was hit with a bit of self-doubt. I didn't really see how I could do it. So I ended up spending about 6 or 7 months working in a sports retail store. At the beginning of 2003, I took a trip to South Africa. I spent 3 months there volunteering, working in a local school. And while I was there, I began writing the first draft of my book. However, it wasn't particularly good. I read back through it, determined that it was no way this could possibly get published, and ended up binning it. So I came back from South Africa, and again I was faced with crunch time. It was a year since I'd left university. There was no more sort of messing around, no more odd jobs. I had to make some kind of concrete decision about what my future would be. So I looked at all the options again. Back in my mind was still very much, or prominent in my mind was still very much, this idea of doing hypnotherapy and tennis coaching, and also the idea of writing a book was still there, even though I'd failed on my first go at trying to do that. I was still looking at becoming an accountant. I was still looking at becoming a teacher. And I just got to the point where I told myself one day, I know I don't want to do this. I'm not inspired by this at all. In fact, it wasn't just a case of not being inspired. I could see I'd find it positively boring. And I think whenever it comes to choosing your path through life, you know really what it is that you want to do, what it is you don't want to do. And I kind of just had to accept that. And in that moment, probably during the summer of 2003, I just accepted it. I enrolled on a tennis coaching course. It was sort of the back door into the tennis coaching industry here in the UK. It took me a week. A month after that, I got my first coaching job and spent the rest of the year sort of easing into this role as a tennis coach, discovering what it was about, finding my way. So as I moved into 2004, I was working as a tennis coach, and I'd also enrolled on a hypnotherapy course. I would do that one weekend a month. I'd catch a train up to London and study to become a hypnotherapist. Around sort of April, May time of that year, I finally was making enough money so that I could move out, find a place of my own. When I say making enough money, it wasn't a huge amount. I think I was making around £1,200 a month at the time. And that was a sort of bit of a theme at the start I found with self-employed work, was that and this was a fear I had to overcome. You never knew when your next bit of work was going to come along. So I had to get over this mental hurdle of not knowing when the next paycheck was going to come along. By mid-2004, I'd also finished my hypnotherapy qualification. So I was a qualified hypnotherapist. This was by probably summer, autumn 2004. Had the potential to do both things. However, there was a bit of hesitancy on my behalf to follow the hypnotherapy because I was 24 years old at the time, and I had this negative belief that people would think I was too young to help them. And this was a big mistake because I had my qualification probably from July of 2004, and I didn't see a single client for the rest of 2004. And it was mainly this negative belief that was holding me back. So if you're watching this video and you feel in the same situation that you're too young to do something, or maybe you're too old, then you've got to free your mind of that, because it's simply not true. Look at Tony Robbins. He was going on stage writing books in his mid-20s, and people were believing in him. So there's no need to think and feel that way. So for the rest of 2004, I just focused on my tennis coaching, built up that business, and had in the back of my mind that I had to make a push with the hypnotherapy at some point. And that pretty much brings our story for today to an end. I hope you found it useful. If you're interested in hearing the next section, 2005, 2010, do let me know. Also, I'm chasing 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much, everyone who has subscribed, who watches the channel, who supports. We're now at well over 950, so we're on the home straight. I'm trying to get to 1,000. So if you watch these videos with any regularity, you've seen one or two of the videos, or you just like this one, please do subscribe, because it would be great to finally get over that hurdle. Sorry guys, I'm back. I just thought to myself as I was walking back to my apartment that maybe some of you would be interested in to discover how I overcame my insomnia, and also a little bit more about the book that inspired me, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. If you want to find out, I have 2 videos on that. They may be popping up right now, or if they're not, just check the links in the description below and you can watch them. See you in the next video.